All right.
Then they called me back to the meeting. I learned about David's surprise undue resignation. Then they reject that there was an agreement. Meeting ends. David continues to negotiate the offer where he leaves.
Yes.
What happens after?
So this is like my like mental breaking point. Like I've dealt with all of this. Like I've dealt with like
mental breaking point.
Well, it's two. It's mental breaking point and business breaking point.
As well as business breaking point.
So like until this moment, I was like trying to hold the business together, trying to make good business decisions, right? Like people refuse to talk. Like people refuse to talk. Like I called a board meeting on David's conflict of interest, which I would have brought up. I suspected of money laundering. They just refused to have that board meeting, right?
After that?
No, even before.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because David intervenes. I immediately called board meeting on his conflict of interest. They refuse to have that board meeting. Later, they put an email that he has no conflict of interest. And apparently, Eva tells me later that he just wrote an email to them saying he has no conflict of interest. And the board, well, not the board because I was still on the board at that time, but the other board members and the auditor and the attorney were like, okay, yeah, he doesn't have any conflict of interest without talking to me. So, and then also behind the scenes, David has been accusing me of all sorts of crimes, like every like little procedural break, a procedural thing that he finds, which is not no longer relevant legally anyways, like 2 years ago, whatever, he presents as crimes. So like he'll point to like the Companies Act and tell the others that this is like a serious crime.
Sure.
In addition to fraud, which is an actual crime, he had all these other behind the scenes crimes as well.
Okay, sure.
So, but through all this chaos, I was trying to talk, like you saw my emails, I'm trying to explain things.
Until then, I was trying to make good business decision in good faith. People refuse to talk now.
Yeah, that was the main problem. But I thought there was still for me, the ultimate resolution of the crisis, like, because I still know about this registered shares. Right? Urs, right? He's like, hey, the shares haven't been issued by the company.
Sure. But
right? Yeah. So for me, that's going to resolve the crisis. Because they're going to eventually, like for me, they're talking to the auditor, they're talking to this attorney, Ville, the attorney, who I still assume is like supposed to be, going to be impartial, right? So in my mind, they're going to understand, like they don't listen to me, but some professional will be like, yeah, the registered share thing should be resolved. And in that moment, the crisis can be resolved. Because now they have to talk. That's in my mind. They can't simply refuse talking forever, because there's going to be this registered share issue, and as soon as they understand that, they're going to be like, we want our shares, and then I'll be like, okay, that's good. Like I agree. Like so, my plan is like they discover the share issue. They come to me. They say they want their shares now, and then I say I have now a good negotiating position to resolve the crisis, because I just want the crisis to be resolved. So I expected them to come and say, we want our shares, or we're not going to work anymore, blah, 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 you're a tyrant, whatever. And then that's my moment to show that I'm not a tyrant in good faith, and I have no problem issuing the shares now. And for me also, the whole crisis, one of the roots of the crisis is that Eva, Urs, and Lauren don't care about the law. Like they don't care about doing things properly and legally. Right? Like I'm accused of something, there should be some process. Like we're supposed to be impartial. There should be some process to evaluate that. Not just like drama club.
Okay.
So this is what I thought was going to happen. And then
in my mind, they can refuse to talk to me, but not to a legal professional, and solve the share issuing now. I just want the crisis to be resolved. I would agree to issue the shares now, but it's time to talk. But apparently they don't care about the law.
Exactly.
Okay, so now events, please.
So in any case, like Eva negotiated twice what's called nego terms V1, and it's V1 because David just accepts it.
I
Without,
already
yeah.
noted that.
Yes.
I want to know what happens after.
Yes. So then they like so then. And this I don't know if you want to read it, but the agreement, the second agreement, is in email. Ava sends me an email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So for me, going back, like undoing this agreement,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do you negotiate? Like now we're no longer now in like business land.
We are no longer in business land.
Right? Because like you can't like it's important. Like how do you negotiate with people who just don't care about their word?
People undo agreements, don't care about their words.
Yeah,
This is chaos. Okay.
Yes.
But events now.
Yes. So then I'm like so then I'm like this is like I don't like for me there's no negotiating after an agreement.
Sure.
Right? So I don't have no other business things to do. So I just tell them like it's amateur hour.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is like we had like this professional process, Ava and I. It resolved the crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Then Urs and Lauren just undoes it and so on. So I just tell them it's like it is amateur. This is not how to run a corporation. Like which is just true. I call it the drama club, right? High school drama club. And incompetence. Like this is just board member incompetence.
I called them out for their incompetence and amateurism.
Yes. And then, and this is where I'm like, well, I want if we're going back to the deal, I want in exchange for damaging my reputation with their performance review in a board meeting, which did not have to be in a board meeting.
I thought you didn't let that happen.
Pardon?
You didn't let.
No, I didn't participate. They continued it. They pushed it forward.
Okay.
They pushed it forward.
Okay.
Then, because this is now it's super high, everything super insane high stress. We get to this agreement, resolves everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, David just surprise performance review.
Sure.
So this is just in trauma, because I was fired under this David's performance review as CEO.
Mm.
And the other reason why this is not acceptable to me, because then when David just disappeared the first time, I'm like, hey Ava,
mm-hmm.
he's disappeared to go search for more dirt.
Sure.
Right, to threaten, right? And Ava's like, no. Then David told Ava's his foster daughter, or he has some sort of not really a foster daughter, but somebody he had some child he has. Whatever. So it's not legally relevant, but from a moral perspective, he says his foster daughter was sick.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, but
totally untrue. He's searching for dirt. So this was not acceptable for me either. So then, what are the events? I called them amateur and incompetent, mm-hmm. And they somehow think that now everything's resolved. They keep on forgetting. What would happen is they'll agree, which resolves them facing the blackmail liability and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll undo the agreement to get something they want.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Then they'll be like, oh shit, now we got the blackmail liability again. So it goes in this crazy cycle. And then...
so you called them out for the incompetence and amateurism.
Yes.
And then what? And what did?
So then, for them somehow they've now won.
Okay.
So they think they've somehow won something. They pushed forward. They pushed forward the shareholders agreement. The shareholders meeting.
They think they somehow won, but they still haven't solved the blackmail issue.
Yeah. So David convinces them that I walked away from the negotiating table and therefore I lost.
Okay.
Even though the negotiation was over, A, and B, it's them that needs a deal to resolve the blackmail liability, mm-hmm. and so on. I don't need a deal. So then they don't understand that. They kind of, this is where the amateur drama club comes in. That they're like, oh well, Eric's walked away, so he lost. Mm-hmm. I didn't lose anything, and I didn't walk away from negotiation. Negotiation was over. So this is how easily David manipulates these people.
Okay.
So then David continues. So then David he talks. David gets this victory, but then he talks to his lawyer. So this is then the cycle. He then talks to often this stuff happens. Then he talks to his lawyer because his lawyer told him to resign and just exit, accept the deal, exit, everything's resolved. But David wanted this last little punch in my face on the performance review,
mm-hmm, okay.
right? So it's purely ego driven. So he's just too greedy. He always wants something more. Like it doesn't like why does it? He's leaving the company. Why does it matter to him?
Okay.
Bad mouthing my reputation. So then, so he then restarts negotiating that, and I'm still trying to negotiate. And then I'm like, I can't deal with Urs and Lauren anymore. But David's negotiates then like just a me and him. Like he can just agree with me that he gives up his shares. He doesn't need the others, right? If they don't want to drop, if they don't want protection from, like if they don't want me to drop claims against them, okay, they don't need to be in the deal, right? Because the original deal, Lauren and Urs just get the drops, all claims against them dropped.
Sure, but like you're going everywhere. And
so no, well,
they think they somehow won, but they still haven't solved the blackmail issue.
Yes.
Then.
So then the event is David's negotiating one-on-one.
Negotiates with who?
With me.
With me.
Right, because we don't need Urs and Lauren in the deal.
Okay, David negotiate with me what?
One-on-one. Well, just doing a one-on-one version of Nego Terms V1.
Okay.
And then he creates this long draft. But then it goes down to like negotiating one-on-one with David. David makes this long draft, which maybe it was good. I don't know, but then he finished his crazy long draft the night before the shareholders meeting the next day.
Before the shareholder meeting the next day.
Yeah, because the shareholders meeting had already been called.
Yeah, I know.
Then in between, there's all this craziness that happens. So now the shareholders meeting is coming down.
Okay.
Then Urs declares
at the shareholders meeting.
No. Before the shareholders meeting, he suddenly says, "I have a recommendation for a better board," and then he just lists David, Urs, Lauren, and Ava without me.
Then Urs, before the day before.
Like a few days before, like maybe 3 days before.
Okay. Urs submitted a better recommendation.
Well, he says I think the board should recommend a better board configuration
where I don't appear.
Yes, and then they all say I agree. So then Ava, Lauren, and David, they all say they agree.
Agree to that.
Yes.
Okay.
So until then, there was no talk about like removing me as a board member.
Yeah, sure.
It was just the CEO and the chair positions.
Sure.
Right. So now, like emotionally, this is like extremely destructive, because
emotionally, this is extremely destructive to me at that point. Okay.
Yeah, because I have not been convicted of anything. There's been no impartial review of anything.
Been convicting about anything. No impartial review wherever offered to me. And I offer like throughout this process, I offer like we can have this, impartial, if we impartial review. If it's not blackmail, if my claims against David are wrong and his claims against me are right, I resign. I exit. Okay. But this is where then, but for me, I still own the shares, right? So it's still, for me, the shareholders meeting should then still own the shares,
because that's just legally the fact.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
There's also a little detail that becomes relevant is when I'm still CEO. The Friday when I'm still CEO, Lauren he suddenly goes and reads the Companies Act, because once we discussed this shareholders thing with Urs. After that, Lauren went and read the Companies Act and saw in that you can ask the board the share registry. But this is Friday, and then he's like, "Give me the share registry, or you're a criminal," basically. Because then David has convinced them that if I can't produce the share registry within half an hour, that means I've done a crime. So all there is to say about that is it's a board responsibility, not just mine. So we'd all be guilty of whatever it is. It's not right. But no, because this is an important part of the story. That it's the law is that it's a board responsibility, not somehow just my responsibility. So Lauren would be convicting himself of the same responsibility, and the law says that there's 2 days for the board to produce this document, right? And then that's Friday, 2 business days. So that's Friday. So I'm just like, it's not a. And this was before but this is before I got blackmailed.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, there's 2 days to do this, and it's a board thing, not a me thing. But whatever. My plan was to get it Monday morning.
Sure.
But then the blackmail letter comes Friday night. I read it Saturday morning. Then my whole last days of being CEO is occupied by the blackmail thing, which is a much huger issue. Then they remove my power to talk with any of the legal agents of the firm. Not even sure if that's legal, but they say Ava is empowered to talk with the attorney. Right? So, and then it's a board responsibility. The board didn't say, Eric, get the document.
Sure.
So I assume that, like, it's considering they just said, this has to be honored, and it's not, it's a crime, and there's a fine, and there's a penalty, and blah, 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 blah. I thought they then did it. So in my mind, they went and got the document from the auditor who has this document, right? But it turns out they forgot about it. Like, once they could no longer convict me of a crime, they just forgot about the issue at all. They didn't like, I'm out now. They don't talk to me. They're managing the company without me, right? They've taken away all my powers or whatever. There was this request for the share registry that Lauren made. The board didn't deliver.
Okay.
But I didn't know that. I thought they did deliver. So this is a key point. This is very fundamental to my mentality going in, because if you fire the person who knows where things are, who are you going to go to? The auditor.
Yeah.
Or then talk to the attorney.
Sure.
Right? You're going to, like, so in my mind, they've talked to these two individuals, Ville and the auditor, about the share registry. Right? The auditor has a copy of the last share registry. So I'm focused on, for me, I'm 100% focused on negotiating with David and trying to get him out, trying to get him to agree to leave before the shareholders meeting. Because if he's gone, then we can resolve everything, all the business, right? And I just own these, it's just a fact, I own these shares. And then I believe they've gone to the auditor and the attorney, and so I expect them at any given, like, I expect them to, and I'm saying let's delay the shareholders meeting, the time to resolve this, which is easy. There's only 3 other shareholders, right? So it's easy to delay the shareholder. I'm like, let's delay the shareholders meeting. I can't prepare for it. I'm adequately.
Try to delay.
I recommend we delay the shareholders meeting. Time to resolve things.
I recommend to delay the shareholders meeting. Time to resolve this. Parenthesis, David leaving.
Yeah. Or then an impartial, or then we agree on an impartial process.
Partial process.
So instead, yeah. So instead, they never come back to me like, "Oh, hey, we want our shares issued now," because it's just a legal fact that I own my shares. I bought them.
Yeah, sure.
And their shares, what they're owed, never got issued. Okay. So I expect that legal professionals will explain this to them, and they'll come back and want to resolve it. Sure. Right? So for me, there's no danger in negotiating with David, and right? So this is then they say they're going to get rid of me at the shareholders meeting.
Okay,
right?
But you are not participating to shareholders
meeting. Yeah, I am.
You are.
Yeah.
So the shareholders meeting happened. That's
so
where
then,
we
so
are
then,
now.
so then,
that's
like,
where we are.
Yeah,
now.
and then we get all the way to a long. Just about it's the night before. It's the night before.
That's the night before. Yeah. Okay.
So David finally has like a long formal agreement that could be signed between me and him, but he has all sorts of complicated legal language, and I'm just not in a legal. I don't have the mental energy to check. I'm also going to check. I also say I got to check this like all of this complexity. I got to check with a lawyer.
Okay. So the night before the shareholder meeting, David comes with a draft long and complicated. I say I need a lawyer
to review and time.
Okay. Then what?
So then they just push forward the shareholders meeting.
But they don't give me time.
And Then David starts accusing me of having stolen his 300 of his shares.
And David accuses me to have stolen how much?
Like 300 shares.
300 shares from him. Okay. And then the shareholders meeting happened.
So then I'm like just confused. Like, so this is going into the shareholders meeting. Suddenly I'm
confused.
They add this, and then to resolve the fact that I stole his shares, they're going to issue 300 more shares.
Okay. Very
so this is, yeah.
But they use that accusation without trial to
issue 300 more shares by the company.
300 more shares by the company. Yeah, I mean, you guys need to vote on that, right?
Yeah. So the whole point is like, so then I'm like, what the heck? Like, so now I'm being accused of theft on top of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And still nobody wants any impartial whatever. Now the point of the 300 shares, like there's over 1,170,000 shares.
Sure.
So David recalculated. He did his own calculation.
Sure.
Of the percentages.
Okay.
And came up with a 300 share difference.
Okay.
Then accused me of stealing his shares somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then we go into the shareholders meeting, and then I'm like.
So now it's the shareholders meeting.
Now it's the shareholders meeting.
In the shareholders meeting.
So then they announce. Then now they start. They announce.
Who is present in the shareholder meeting?
Everybody. So me, David, Urs, Eva,
me,
Lauren,
David,
Will,
Urs,
Arno.
Eva. Me, David, Urs, Eva.
Will, and
Arno, Lauren.
And Lauren, yeah, everybody.
Lauren.
Everybody you've heard about.
Okay.
So then they present this entirely new ownership structure.
Present an entirely new ownership structure. So
and I say, how is it legal?
Yeah.
I say, how is it legal?
And I say, how is this legal?
And David and Urs just insist that it's legal. It's legal.
David and Urs insist that it is legal.
And then I say, like, we have this registered share problem for years, and now it's just magically solved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I see, right? We have this issue.
What this new ownership structure did present?
Well, that the other people just own my shares.
Okay. Okay. They present an entirely new ownership where my shares have been taken
by others.
And, by others, a little bit everyone.
Yeah. Well, to distribute my and Ava's shares.
So you're 51. So how many shares you have in the new thing?
26%.
Okay. They present an entirely new ownership structure where my shares have been taken by others, a little bit for everyone, and in their new world, I have 26 shares.
26%.
26% instead of 51%.
Yes.
And I say, how is this legal?
Yeah.
David and Urs insist that it is legal.
So there is no board, like there cannot be any board minutes. Like I've been chair of the board since 2012.
Mm-hmm.
How can there possibly be any board minutes authorizing a change to the registered share thing?
There was never a board minute that
changed the share registry.
Change the share registry. Well, I'm not even sure that the board can change it.
No, the board in Finnish law, the board's responsible for the share registry.
Yeah, but it's responsible. But they cannot do whatever they want.
No. They can't like. That's they have two confusions. First, presenting share ownership, share rights in a shareholders meeting without the share registry at all.
Okay.
Right. Then second confusion is the idea that the share registry determines share ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So they go backwards. that they have the power
Mhm.
to decide who can
Can
vote.
so
Yeah.
the board cannot change
Ownership.
ownership.
No,
Why?
no. That's yeah. That's
Because this is the thing I'm thinking now. Like if a board can change
Yeah.
registry,
exactly.
like
It's crazy.
an investor come in but
Yeah.
that doesn't come in a board, I'm like, okay, yeah, well, actually he has 0 shares.
Yes. So like shareholders, like so that's why ownership is decided outside the company. Otherwise, you have like a logical loop. Shareholders vote for a board, who vote for shareholders,
Mhm.
right? You can't like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
So
This didn't make any sense. Okay.
so
So
this
what
is
did you do? If they present you that, they say it's legal.
yeah. Then
you
they
go
say
like-
then they say like they basically say everything. Then they restrict my speaking time to 3 minutes on all issues,
Mhm.
which is also illegal, right? But so now they just pushed everything through, and they say everything's approved by like the company attorney.
They say everything is approved by the company attorney, who is
New Vile, yeah.
Ville.
So they're saying like, and so they're saying, and like I think they went and asked the auditor for the registered share.
What? Sorry.
Like so, this is my big confusion. Is I believe they went to the auditor to get the share registry that Lauren asked for.
I so believed they went to the auditor to request that share register.
Like the previous one, the legal one.
The legal one.
Yeah.
You know that the one they present to you is not the one. You know the one that they present to you is not the real share registry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, they don't like. Well, that, this
Oh,
is,
it's not a share registry. It's an ID of a new thing.
yeah, yeah. They don't. Yeah, they just present the votes and the owners. They just present the ownership of the shares. They
Okay.
don't. They didn't even make
Yeah.
a new. They didn't
Okay.
like they didn't make a new share registry,
Okay.
and they didn't ask the auditor for
Sure.
the existing share registry.
Sure. I so believe they went to the auditor to request the share. No, you don't believe that.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that.
You believe that they went to the auditor to request the share registry.
Yeah, yeah. Because Lauren asked for it.
Yeah.
They clearly know it's important. Right.
Yeah. They clearly know it's important. Lauren previously asked for it. Okay, but that's weird that you believe that, because they come to you with, they present you the share power, and you're like,
I'm like close to like at this point I'm close to like deep psychosis.
yeah,
Like I haven't slept.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Super stressful.
Okay.
Suddenly there's like none of this was expected. Suddenly there's accusations of crimes against me. Right. Like all this chaos.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So my girlfriend is like now in shock as well. She has to like give me sleeping pills.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Okay.
So there's this mental context. But for me, there's only like for me, I still think they're doing things like in some sort of legal process, right?
I still
I
believe
did
they
not
went to
understood.
the-
I did not understand that they just like disconnected from the law completely. Especially Lauren,
Okay.
Lauren clearly read.
At that time, I still want to believe.
Not want to. I just like I have my mental image of what happens as some sort of legal
Yeah.
company act process.
Yeah.
So there's only like for me, there's only two ways to get the share registry, right? Either you go to the auditor, right, and you get it, right, and there's legal one. The auditor has a copy, right, or you call a board meeting, and because it's a board responsibility, so you call a board meeting
okay.
and you're like, board, we gotta make a share registry because we're going into a shareholders meeting,
Sure.
right,
Okay.
and none of us have it, right.
Okay. They say everything is approved by the company attorneys. I so believe they went to the auditor to request the share registry. They clearly know it's important or previously asked for it. And so what? Then what?
So then I'm being accused of all sorts of shit.
Okay.
Their whole plan is to remove me from the board, right? They've somehow changed the ownership.
Me for the board. They accuse me of a bunch of crime.
Right.
A bunch of crimes. They manipulated my shares.
Yeah. So then, what I propose what would be like, and none of us are impartial. Like I'm still trying to, I'm still trying to follow the law.
Okay.
So this is clearly the huge crisis, and I'm not impartial. I'm accused of a whole bunch of crimes, right?
Sure.
Right. So I recommend we elect somebody outside the situation.
Elect somebody outside of the situation
to help resolve it.
To help resolve it.
So then they're like, well, nobody wants to do that. And then Will is like, I'll do it.
Okay. Nobody wants.
Well, they say nobody wants. They say they block
that.
it. They say it can't be done because nobody wants to do it. But Will wants to do it. That's the point.
But Will say he will do it.
Yes. And then they say can't be done because there's 5 board seats.
But they refuse.
Yeah, because there's 5 board seats and there's a board seat maximum of 5.
There's 5 board seats, and Will is not in it, right?
No.
And Will is not in it. What's
So I suggest we just make 6 board seats. But they say no.
Suggest we make 3 board
6
seats.
board seats.
6 board seats. But they say no.
Yes. So then I agree. So then I propose that Will takes my seat.
Mm-hmm.
The time to negotiate a resolution.
Will takes my seat for the time we can solve this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel this is responsible, and I'm also at my mental limit.
Mm-hmm.
So then another detail, another key detail. There's Ville involved in all this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So an actual attorney,
Yeah, I know.
right? Who I expect to be impartial,
Yeah.
right? Then even if there was this confusion about how he
Sure.
became the company attorney,
Sure.
right? So Ava's empowered to talk to him. Before, when I'm still chair of the board,
Mm-hmm.
I then ask, where's Ville's opinions and briefs on everything?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously they've been talking to him to set things up,
Mm-hmm.
right? They refuse. Like then I ask this, Ava just sends me a sick note. Like first they say we don't have to give it, and I'm like, yeah, that's how we empower you to talk. Because then first they're like, oh, only Ava talks to the attorney, and then I'm like, well, no, she can talk to the attorney, but then how it works is she then comes and reports back to the board, other board members,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And then Ava just sends me a sick note,
What is that?
like a doctor's note
Okay.
that she's sick,
Okay.
right? And then she's not working.
Okay.
Well, obviously, but still, I'm like, well, okay.
But she's there
Hmm?
at the shareholders meeting.
Yeah. So obviously, she became unsick, right? So this is just an excuse to not give me the legal
Okay.
briefs.
Okay. But like, so Will takes your seat.
Yeah, but this legal briefs thing. Clearly, it becomes important later. Clearly, it exists.
Okay.
So they've gotten advice. They like it's from Ville. The whole setup comes from Ville, saying that they can restrict my speaking time. This whole stealing shares and whatever. They talk to him about all this stuff, and he sets up how to get me out, right? Which is how am I supposed to predict that somebody who's supposed to be impartial acts against me?
No, it's okay. Just
I'm just saying they don't give me this information, so it's like a serious fraud, basically.
Okay.
Because it's I'm supposed to, as a shareholder, I should benefit from advice to shareholders from as much as any other shareholder. So that's the Finnish law.
Sure.
And they lie about it, right?
Okay.
So then because I'm chair of the board and board member, I still have power to inspect the company, what the company's doing.
Yeah, sure.
So they just straight up lie. Then so that becomes important later because I bring it up later, and it also explains like if they're now paying an attorney, right? An attorney is setting all this up, right? So the attorney who knows who owns the company, right? So and who knows that there's a conflict of interest, right? And then that creates all problems for him. Because he wasn't clear how he became the company attorney. So he should recuse himself.
Yeah, sure.
Right, that would have solved everything. We get a new attorney, right, and
Okay.
things would have been solved. But he doesn't recuse himself.
But Will takes my seat for the time we can solve
Yes.
this thing.
So this is So that's the end of the shareholders meeting.
Okay.
Right, and then I still believe.
So now you believe that impartial attorney will be found by Will to solve this thing.
Yeah. So this is this is what I like. So
shareholders meeting ends.
yes,
I believe.
Will help solve the crisis.
Will help with finding an arbiter.
Or just a resolution, negotiate a resolution.
I mean, he needs no. I recommend to elect somebody outside of the situation to help resolve it. Nobody wants that, but Will say he will do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So shareholder meeting end. I believe will help with finding that person who can be impartial.
Yes.
In this context. Okay. Then what happened?
So then we'll then like I immediately had like they then refused. I asked for my holiday pay.
Mm-hmm.
They refused to give me any.
In the shareholders meeting?
No. Then the board afterwards.
Then I ask for my holiday pay.
They refuse.
But they refuse.
I talked to Will about the issues. So I think Will is going to have my idea was like it was supposed to be that Will looks into things and then we have a new shareholders meeting with Will's new perspective to negotiate a resolution.
Sure.
This was my proposal.
Yes.
Instead, Will, I guess, listen. I talked to him, Will, a few times. I listen. He never comes back with any follow-up questions, and he never he takes him a whole year to do his investigation, which is then like 2 pages, and just says like I send him all the information about this registered share thing, like these email chains. I send him everything, the email chains, everything. Like basically, he doesn't investigate anything.
I talked to Will, but apparently he is not doing anything.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything. They managed to manipulate him pretty quickly, and so instead of they turn it into like some sort of trial, I guess. That Will is gonna decide who's right and wrong. Where the whole point was just we get Will's perspective and then have a new negotiation.
Yeah.
But they refused that. I don't know. I honestly don't know why Will didn't
do
anything.
I still don't know. That's the fact. I still don't know why exactly Will didn't do anything. Maybe pressure, maybe manipulation.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how they do. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't care, or maybe they manipulated him. Who knows? Then what's for sure is he doesn't do anything. He like never asks me follow-up questions.
Sure. Okay.
What is clear becomes clear a year later, is they used.
Wait, what year are we here?
This is spring of last year.
This is spring 2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
What becomes clear is like, cause then they eventually present his investigation at the annual meeting, which was in February, a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So that was not the purpose of him joining the board to look into things at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So then.
But like
so
let's keep the timeline.
Yes. No, but just so what there's all these videos of they recorded all of these board meetings.
Sure.
So they show Will, what has become clear is they show Will parts of these meetings that proves I'm a bad person.
Okay.
Because there's this one point where there's this one point where I'm like, we're arguing about the whole like coherent management position thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, Ava, do you agree that we should have the same position, right? Like that the CEO represents the company position. And then she agrees, but it's like it's super annoying. People who are like, because whatever, if she disagrees, we can vote on it and have everybody can contradict the CEO anytime. I have no problem, right? Okay. But insofar as like as the law normally works, board empowers the CEO runs the show, right? And then if I have a problem with you, I have to call a board meeting,
sure,
right? So that's how the law works. And okay, we could, if the board wants to vote for this, the CEO doesn't really have any power. Okay, but then the board's liable for that vote.
Mhm.
So I don't have a problem with Ava saying, "Let's vote. We're gonna have this chaotic."
Sure, but you already told me that.
Yeah. Anyways, but there's this moment where she's like, "Yes, yes," like she agrees with me, in her mind, as a proof I'm a toxic abuser.
Okay.
So I don't know how to deal with this.
Okay.
So I'm like, "Well, do you agree or not?" And she's like, "Yeah, I agree." I'm like, "Well, okay, well, say you agree then," or like she's being like vague about it. I'm like, "Well, what do you think?" Right? And for her, that's like I was forcing her to say something. But from my perspective, she's a board member. There's 4 other board members, right? I don't have any power over her as a board member. But they show this part. They focus on this part of the video.
Like this.
Yeah, I'm just saying to explain how Will
Sure. Okay.
was how it was proven to Will that I'm a bad person was these selective parts of these videos.
Okay.
And I wasn't given. I asked for these videos. I'm part of these videos. They refused to give me these videos, so I can't make a defense.
Sure.
So it's again like just ridiculous, like condemned on evidence I can't even use to defend myself.
Sure.
So this is their process, and this is how they convince Will, because then he talks about it in his, and then he makes eventually a 2-page his investigation report.
Okay.
That just says it seems Eric. He just repeats the narrative of of Urs and Ava that it seems Eric couldn't deal with being fired as CEO, and it seems he couldn't find a new place in the new company or whatever. Which how is that an investigation? Seems.
Okay.
Right. So he had anyway. So that's the Will thing. Then it doesn't matter.
Okay. So if it doesn't matter, let's continue.
Yes. So that. It basically doesn't matter. Then they close the investigation. Then they close the negotiation.
After a shareholders meeting.
Yeah. Then a few days later, Ava closes the negotiation.
A few days later.
I'm not sure it's a few days later. Maybe I relax for a week.
Close.
But later.
The investigation.
Soon after. Maybe it's better wording.
Later, Ava closed the investigation.
Not the investigation. Sorry, the negotiation.
The negotiation.
Yes.
The negotiation for finding someone.
For finding a solution. Well, either impartial. I make offers. Like I offer them. Like after this, I'm like, okay. They say they're right. They say I'm wrong. They say I'm dangerous to the company. Apparently, like Ava tells me, the auditor tells them that I'm a danger to that it's common practice for the board to ask me to resign under the. She approves David's letter basically. Says it's common practice.
Later, Ava closed negotiation. The
auditor approves David's letter.
Everyone approves David's
letter. Specifically the auditor, without telling, the
auditor
to Ava.
Everyone approves David's letter, and the auditor to Ava.
Ava, the auditors. Now starts a process that Ava keeps on telling me about, which is the auditor telling her specific opinions.
Okay.
So, and this is just straight up illegal. If the auditor makes an opinion, it's supposed to be shared with all shareholders. The auditor is supposed to work for the shareholders.
Keeps giving opinions to Eva. Basically, I'm a danger for the company.
Yeah, because I threatened to sue the company.
Because I threat to sue the company.
Over blackmail.
Company over blackmail. Okay.
Which is
true.
But it's true. But it's just my right. If what matters is the blackmail real or not?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So I offer. So they then because Ava was negotiating based on her understanding that it was blackmail.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So she even told me her attorney, in the first negotiations, her attorney told me I have grounds for my blackmail claim.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
So she talked to her private attorney who was
so you were in a situation where they don't want to listen to you, but they still have this problem with the blackmail.
Yeah. So then I offer. Okay, we put all of our stock in a pile. They keep on saying there's no blackmail. They haven't broken any laws. Okay. There's no blackmail, and I'm the bad person. I'm the danger. I've done the illegal shit. I'm dangerous. So that's their whole position. Okay. And David's there. and they say David's not going anywhere. He's a brilliant businessman, basically.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well,
Okay.
you guys say you're right.
Okay, so then I guess what you do is like you gonna sue the company for blackmail.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what
But
you
no,
do.
but first I'm like, that's not a good business. That's not.
Okay, so before going to the ultimate thing I can do, which is
File the blackmail
suing
claims.
the company
And the
For
criminal claims against
blackmail.
and the criminal claims against David and so on.
and the criminal claims against David, multiple thing, right? Fraud.
Yeah, exactly.
And the criminal claims against David. What before doing that? What do you propose?
So I offer we put all of our stock in a pile.
We put all our stocks in a pile.
And arbitration rules, like if David's letter doesn't represent anything illegal.
An arbitration redistribute, basically.
Pardon?
Like you propose.
Putting basically all of our stocks in a pile. If I'm right, I get all the stock. If I'm wrong, I lose all my stock.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
They say they're right. Okay, well, let's submit that to a third party, right?
And arbitration will decide.
Yeah.
Will decide if I get my 51% back.
No, well, I get all the shares of the deal. Well, I don't know if you want to get into the offer, but basically we put all of our shares, which at that time
The 100%.
they're claiming I only have 26%.
Yeah.
Right. So based on this, I'm like, okay, so at this time it's like, and I don't know how maybe they changed these share ownerships legally, because I assume the auditor was involved. So I don't
see how they can do that. Like honestly, I do not see how they can.
No. But if you're in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
like there's 4 of them.
Sure.
Ava doesn't have any motivation to do illegal things.
Sure.
What the auditor, I don't see how Ava, the auditor, and Vile have any motivation to do something illegal.
Okay,
So it's weird.
I offer we put all our stocks in a pile and arbitration will decide.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also explained this share thing to Will, who's supposed to be impartial, getting into things, and I tell him to like go talk to an impartial attorney about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he never comes back with there's an issue or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they're so in denial about it that this is what confuses me, because I'm offering really easy ways to resolve everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then which resolves the share issue question as well. So I'm like they must be really confident,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
right? So but they just didn't look into the issue at all. So this is one of the most confusing things for me.
Yeah, I understand now, but like.
Yeah. So where are we? So I make offers. The point is, these offers are refused. Then Ava closes the negotiation.
Keep being refused. Eva close negotiation.
So then I call a shareholders meeting with a whole bunch of questions
shareholder meeting.
With a whole bunch of questions.
With a whole bunch of questions.
To board members.
To board members.
I also now so this is like what's the month before April?
It's March.
So this is March. Then Ava.
We are in March.
Yeah.
2021.
Yes. Then Ava restarts the negotiation.
Eva, of course, restarts the negotiation.
So then, and now I say like, so my offer, they make an offer to me.
Okay.
Which we call deal 2. So there's nego terms V1, the original offer to David, what got reneged on twice, and now they make an offer to me called deal 2.
Make an offer to me called V2.
Well, deal 2.
Deal 2.
It's a set like
which is the new version of.
No. It's a severance package.
Deal 2, which is a severance package.
Basically, okay. And then they then send the this is well, actually I think this severance package comes really rapidly after Okay, we'll have to check the dates, but whatever.
Sure.
It's in. It's
So
in,
you call a shareholder meeting with a whole bunch of questions to the board member. We're in March 2021, and Eva sent you deal 2.
Yes, I
to-
think. No, I think. Well, I think this comes in April.
Okay.
I think. No. Yeah, it does come in April.
We are in April. So
Yeah.
so
then
let me just
chronologically. I missed one event.
chronologically, you call a shareholders meeting
Yeah.
with a whole bunch of questions.
Yes.
So to the board member. After that, Eva.
The key question is: was there legal briefs and opinions, right, purchased by the company when I was still a member of the board and that weren't shared with me? Because that's just straight up fraud.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Like if you go and pay for legal advice with
Sure.
company money,
Sure.
you have to.
That's not like.
Yeah. So,
I'm asking you just the chronology.
yeah. So I called the shareholders meeting.
Yes, with this question.
Yeah. The negotiation restarts.
The negotiation restarts.
Yes.
And they restart that by sending you deal 2.
No, small event in between. They shut off my email.
In April 2021, Eva restarted the negotiation where they shut down your email. They shut down your
April 1st.
email on April 1st.
Yes. It's March, April, May, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of the previous stuff, the board meeting where I'm fired, the board meeting where David resigns, the shareholders meeting, all that's in March.
Yeah. Okay.
April 1st, they shut off my email.
Okay. And Eva then restarts the negotiation and make an offer called deal 2.
Well, the negotiation, I call the shareholders meeting, negotiation restarts, they shut off my email.
Okay. You call a shareholder meeting.
Renegotiation restarts.
Negotiation restart.
They shut off my email during the negotiation.
Okay. Okay.
Then I say the only reason to shut off my email is to look in my email. Before they shut it, even before they shut it off.
I said the only reason to shut off my email is to go look into them.
Right. We already dealt with this at the very start of the podcast.
Sure.
Let's call it podcast.
Sure.
Right. So, and then so that was April 1st, right? Then the negotiation, just for the timing, the negotiation goes all the way to May. Well, I can give you the date
Goes
of the
all
sign.
the way to.
I think that's the best, because the date's going to be on the agreement. Yeah, here it is.
Okay. All the way to May.
Okay, no, this is not that one.
Well, I don't think the dates are that much important of the chain of events.
Yeah. Well, it's then what's in the agreement is also relevant, so I think it's good to bring up.
I'm gonna smoke.
Okay. Well, let's take a little pause. I'll find this. I forget what it's called. The document.
Severance package.
Well, it's called. They call it a clean break. They call it a clean break. They insist on calling it a clean break because they want to keep the appearance that I'm leaving the company, even though that's not what the agreement does.